Hey nerds! So following on from the last video on building your first miniature, today we're going to be talking about primers and paints. You can't go too wrong with primer choice. Colour wise it will influence the base coats and shadows, but brand wise don't worry too much. I like to use Colourforge as they are matched to Citadel's colours. They're great value and exceptional quality. You can also use an air primer, which is great for indoor use, but you will need an airbrush, and like I said in the last video, it's best not to walk before you can run. There's also brush applied primers, but I haven't actually tried one of those yet. Let me know in the comments if you had good results with them so far. So we have another Blood Bowl Mini as our test switch today. And just a quick side note, if you do end up using contrast paints, I prefer to use a nice off-white like this, but a strong white is also a good option, just tends to be a bit too bright for me. So let's get prepared to prime our first miniature. A couple of things you might need are some disposable gloves and a face mask. I do a fair bit of DIY, so I've got a pretty good one available. Better to be safe than sorry. So we have to make sure we always use our primer sprays outdoors, but with it being a typical British summer, it's absolutely chucking it down. Don't attempt to spray in the rain, as a single raindrop on the Mini can ruin the whole priming process. Give the can a good shake for a minute or two, and give it a quick spray to test. Take your Mini, and you can use a spray booth or an old cardboard box, but I like to use a painting handle. Giving it quick blasts while moving the can in strokes, making sure we get all the sides, underneath and on top. Don't keep priming on top of this first layer, give it 10 minutes or so to dry before going back in. These cans actually have useful instructions for storage and use on the side. I went for just 2 coats on this one as it tends to be plenty, but you can go for a third if you want. The camera's actually struggling to focus as it's so dark and so matte, but we've got pretty good coverage. And in case you were wondering why we don't just slap paint straight on the assembled miniature, the primer is what your base layers actually bond to. We can apply our base coat colour on top of the primer, but without the primer it'll look like ass. Now onto the paints, and there are so many to choose from it can be quite overwhelming, but don't overcomplicate it. Ignore what you might hear online. As a beginner, I highly recommend Citadel paints for a few reasons. The main one being the Citadel app. It makes choosing the correct paint so easy, and if you want to achieve the same scheme as the box art, it's ideal. It has paint selections for table ready quality all the way up to display standard. Nearly every single Warhammer Mini is in here, and once you have the correct colours, it's easy to make a start. There's even a bunch of guides for beginners in there, up to professional level, for techniques and specific minis, which are super helpful. And even if you want to do your own colour schemes, you can simply pick a colour, and you can see how to base, shade and highlight it. And you can save a project or set of paints, so that when you go to the hobby shop, you have the list ready in your hand. So yeah, Citadel are a great choice when starting out for sure. Army Paint and War Paints Fanatic are also a great beginner choice, with their super helpful colour triad scheme. Got a cool red one here as an example. It has reds going from darkest to lightest, and it makes it super easy for picking highlights and layering colours. So once you have the scheme you want to go for, you can't go too wrong with the colour selection. AK Interactive are also fantastic, especially if you need a good black or white. Pro Aqua will also have an amazing white, but the dropper bottles drive me a bit mad. Colour and quality wise, I really like AK paints, but there's so many colours it can be a bit overwhelming, and definitely not beginner friendly, but definitely check them out. Vallejo have some of my favourite colours and are also top quality. I just wish more of these brands would use a triad system like the Army Painter to make it a lot easier for everyone. Contrast paints are also worth looking into when you first start, but we'll cover them in a future video. Speed paints are also a great alternative to them as well, but again, we'll cover them later. So yeah, there's lots of great options out there, but just keep it simple and don't get overwhelmed. Same with primers, it'll probably just come down to availability and price, but I recommend Colourforge if you can get hold of them. I've used a whole bunch of different brands so far on my Strack model, and that being said, I better go make some progress on that. Ciao for now.